What's up, Korea Boos? The news has been crazy recently. Now, quick warning for you guys, we will be talking about some sensitive topics here. With what VCHA member KG exposed about the conditions her group was in during their barely 1 year in JYP Entertainment. And I'm not exaggerating here at all. JYP is in some really deep trouble with this bombshell of a lawsuit. KG claimed that the JYP staff was mistreating them and not allowing them to drink water during practices, and even having hidden cameras around the dorms to film the members without them knowing it. But now, I think JYP is going to face some huge consequences because of all of this happening in the United States. But JYP shot back at KG, saying she was making false and exaggerated claims. Did JYP just really ruin it for K-pop in America? So let's go ahead and find out. What happened to VCHA? And make sure if you haven't yet, subscribe, like, and hit the bell so you don't miss out on brand new videos on my channel. But as I always like to say, before looking forward, we gotta look back to 2018. My first video that I ever made that blew up my channel was actually about JYP Entertainment and their strategy of
globalization by localization. This structure will take us to the next level.
A plan to push K-pop globally by picking a country and creating a group made up of members from that country. At that time, I praised the idea. It sounded good to me. It was the next logical step for K-pop to expand past Korea and Asia. But who knew JYP would fail miserably again? I say again because JYP had made numerous attempts to break into the American music market. First with the solo artist Rain in 2006, and then the Wonder Girls in 2009. JYP would spend the next 17 years celebrating the success of their groups in Korea like Twice, Stray Kids, and ITZY, but JYP was also planning their next attempt at planting their own flag in the United States with their own K-pop act. And pop quiz, I'm sorry to scare you. What is the best way to make a K-pop group? Say it with me now. A survival show. Very good. You did your homework. America to Korea, or A2K for short, premiered in July 2023 on JYP Entertainment's YouTube channel. JYP held auditions across 5 major cities in America to form this new group that would represent JYP on the global market. I remember watching it when it came out, and I actually rewatched it for this video, and it kind of reminds me of the first season of American Idol. A bit cringy, but it's also kind of funny, kind of like how Ryan Seacrest tried to high-five a blind contestant. But to me, and you've probably seen it without even knowing it, the funniest part was the meme between Kaylee and JYP.
I could feel your passion and also how smart you are in chasing that passion.
So nice to hear that because I'm not confident in dancing at all, but it's...
Obviously, you're not that good.
Kaylee even recreated the meme later on in VCHA.
So nice to hear that because I'm not confident in dancing at all, but it's... Obviously, you're not that good.
But once JYP found its contestants, they held a boot camp in LA to narrow it down to the final 5 members that get to debut and represent JYP in America. But in all seriousness, as you watch this show, you notice that a lot of the contestants were really young, and they didn't really seem to control their emotions and be able to cope in stressful situations. Like Kaylee, who was the youngest on the show. She was only 12 years old when filming for A2K took place. That is a problem we've seen in K-pop, is people not agreeing with the age of idols who debut.
케이, 너 동작이 헷갈려? 혹시?
조금 헷갈려.
왜? 왜? 어? 아니 못하는 게 아니고 너 파트인데.
아니 다들 못하는 것 같아. 아니 괜찮아요.
울지 마. 괜찮아.
I was crying before because I was like losing my confidence. So during the dance, I was like almost the only one that wasn't synchronized. Am I gonna be the one to drag everyone down? I think I'm probably the weakest link there.
The only one contestant who cried when you didn't receive a stone. Can you try to explain to me what happened?
I'm not sure. Because I knew from the moment I ended that I did so much worse than what I could have done and when I practiced. So I was just so frustrated that I don't know, my emotions just kind of burst out.
And even with the situation with VCHA right now, we have even more reason not to debut minors. And also watching that show, I also noticed something. My friend and journalist for Billboard, Jeff Benjamin, was on the show. So I decided to call him up and ask him a few questions since he was actually there meeting VCHA before they actually debuted.
Hey everyone, this is Jeff Benjamin. I'm a journalist based in New York. Been writing about international music at large, but specifically about K-pop for over a decade now. You might have seen my columns on Billboard, writing for places like Forbes, Rolling Stone, New York Times, and just talking about it and having a lot of great experiences with K-pop for over a decade now. So great to meet you all.
Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I feel like, especially nowadays with how, I don't know, I feel like there's a shift in K-pop when it comes to how the artist is able to kind of speak up a little bit more.
And as this, K-pop world becomes more globalized, more international, it's coming, home here to our home base in America. It's going to bring out a lot of different things. So it's important to talk about.
I asked you to jump on the call because I saw you in the A2K show, the survival show that made VCHA. And I was like, let me see if I can get the man himself to talk about his experience and your thoughts about not just A2K, but of course VCHA and everything in between. So you were brought in on A2K episode 7, I believe, for the kind of media training segment for the contestants. I did read your statement on Twitter that it was very much a small segment. What can you tell me about how the filming went from your perspective?
I realized like this wasn't super clear in the show, but when I got the call to take part, JYP, Mr. JYP, JY Park, they knew that, right? Like this A2K, they're not a typical K-pop group. Even JY himself said, this is just something we've never done before. Like Twice and ITZY are gonna watch this and be like, how do these girls know how to speak like that already? Because I thought they all did quite brilliantly. Like they all really spoke from the heart. Like I thought it was such a fun day. And I just had the best time, right? But that being said, right, is that when I was there, it was super quick. Like I know it looks like we're very relaxed and having a good time. I was told I would have about 30 straight minutes just to review the contestants' profiles. I had notes, and everything. And next thing I know, they even came in maybe less than 10 minutes while I'm preparing to be like, we actually have to go now. The girls don't have that much time. And keep it in mind, they all are considered children. In California, we filmed in LA, which has very strict child labor laws. There are a lot of child actors in Hollywood and Los Angeles. So, I didn't get the sense that anyone was messing around or just waiting around just to see how they could waste time. It was moving pretty quickly and everything I saw was, by the book, and it was rushed, which was a bit of a bummer to me because I love sitting down. I love getting to know people. I love talking to people. But looking back on it actually probably was for the best.
Now, the part where you actually interviewed the contestants, were there any contestants that stood out to you, their personality, the way they answered?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're talking about KG, right? And they were the final contestants with Christina and Camila. And I remember thinking, oh, these are the older girls. These are the mature girls. And Camila was one of the older ones. But I hadn't even realized that KG wasn't even one of the older members. They all looked like superstars. But KG, I thought for sure was she must be an adult or about to, going to college or something. But when I found out she was actually, younger than most of the contestants, I was quite surprised. I thought Kaylee, as the youngest member, was amazing. Just her drive, her determination. I thought Melissa in particular too was super impressive just in terms of how she shared her personal stories. I was kind of surprised that she didn't make the final group, to be honest.
Yeah, I think KG in particular, it is because of that experience of being that singer-songwriter, performing, being in front of people at such a young age. And you did bring up the K-pop training when it came to the contestants you were talking about. You saw it. Let's jump into the K-pop trainee system. Do you think these contestants that you sat down and you did spend a few minutes with, not too much to gauge, but do you think they were ready for the K-pop trainee system that JYP was going to implement when it came to training them to become VCHA?
I mean, it's tough to say because I don't necessarily know if like we, as again, we're in America, we hear things, we might, read about, this rigorous training system, all these things. But I don't think like anyone knows it until they actually experience it. But I think the thing that really just kind of got lost, and I think that was probably the biggest shock, was sort of those cultural differences, right? Like, I don't think anyone was having difficulty working hard or training or dance practicing. I think it was just the cultural expectations of what was expected of you, how hard you were supposed to work.
I think if you've been a K-pop fan long enough, you do know. And I traveled to Korea. I lived there for a few months. I'm going back soon. It's just different. There is no way around it. That is the culture, that is the way of life.
But I can imagine taking, contestants from America, right, who might not even have their families with them in that way, and just kind of going through something that, might be expected of them. I'm sure there could be cultural shock on both sides. And, like we said, it's the first time it's ever happened. It's a learning curve, not to excuse certain behaviors or not, but it's naturally there's going to be a shock either way. To me, the biggest thing, and this is something that I took so much, heart in, and why I so believed in like the A2K, why I was being brought in for that specific segment, was that I really believe that like the heart and the aspects that kind of, we honor and sort of those, those values, those morals that we honor, when it comes to sort of, Western music or American music, whatever it might be, we're still gonna come to light in that way. It wasn't gonna be about taking them from America and erasing everything and then, re-debuting them in some, totally new fashion. And, I even felt it when we did our first interview of them, after the show as VCHA. I felt that different kind of media training. I got some more apprehension from them. I got a bit more formality, the things that, you come to expect from a new K-pop group. And again, not a bad thing, not a good thing, but I was looking for like that heart, that those things that they were sharing with me just off the cuff, about their experiences, about their families, about moving away from their families, the things that inspired them, how they want to represent, whether it's, people from their state, their country, their, ethnicity, whatever it was. And I just wasn't feeling that in the same way.
But I do have to give a shout out to Savannah, Florida girl. We got to represent. Oh. That's all I got to say. I got to put that in there. Again, that individualism, I'm representing Florida,
Yes.
Florida is a part of the US, but how Americans are with like, oh, this is my state, this is my hometown, what I'm saying?
And that's how I am with Lexi. I mean, Lexi, she's not from Chicago, but I think she's from Milwaukee or, Wisconsin, Michigan area. And I was like, that's my Midwest girl, like,
Yes, it's definitely true. I mean, now we can say this. I don't know if JYP knew the odds of VCHA being successful because, JYP has tried before to break into America with their own artists, Rain, Wonder Girls, as we mentioned before, and they did have the connections, JYP did his thing.
And, I'll just say I don't think he would have a problem with me saying this, but backstage at the auditions, because I was actually reporting on observing the auditions that were taking place in New York, and he said, if I can make this successful, like this is something that's just never been done, and I think he knew that like this is a big task like at hand, like this is not going to be easy, like it's not something to be taken lightly, but I think he also knew like the potential that this had to kind of break barriers, to be able to show something new for, you know, the Eastern world, the Western world, whatever you want to call it. You know, this could make something, you know, super different. So I know his heart was in the right place, and I know the ambitions are in the right place to make something happen. And, you know, whether or not we call it an experiment or whether we call it, you know, whatever you want to call it, you know, it's like, I know the intentions were correct, you know, and like you said, you know, and I can totally, you know, vouch for this, that people on the Republic Records side were super excited about, you know, what was coming. They were excited about the music that they had already, you know, they were already gathering music during the audition phase, you know, like they were psyched about this. I think they had such great success, you know, teaming up with JYP on the Republic side. You know, and just having multiple #1 albums from Stray Kids, from Twice, multiple top 10s from, you know, ITZY, you know, NMIX, you know, jumping in there, whoever it might be, you know, there was all this like great synergy happening. You know, that excitement, those people, everyone that worked so hard on this, I think, you know, everyone, from what I understand, is, you know, still there. No one's given up. You know, the group still exists. I think it's just a matter of how do you move forward after this, you know, when certain things come to light. In what ways do we move forward, and, you know, how do we make it better for the future, you know?
Well, I will say, I don't know if I'm going to keep this in the video, but a youth representative from JYP USA did reach out to me to do a collaboration with VCHA. I don't know to how many other creators that they reached out to, but I was communicating with them, and who I had was very responsive, very nice. Do you think JYP USA, I'm sorry, I don't know how to be too nice with these things. I'm not traditionally trained, as you know. But
You're fine.
do you think JYP USA and possibly the team that it was assigned to VCHA was more of a D team?
I don't think they were like, I don't think they were like the junior varsity team or anything like that per se. I just think it was like there probably was a lot of trying to figure it out as things go on. And, you know, I don't hold it against those people or anything. I'm not sure who you spoke to, but, you know, like lots of the people that I spoke to, at least, were very keen on, you know, making this happen and making sure that the girls getting the spotlight and things like that.
22 episodes later, JYP made the final decision on who will debut in this one-of-a-kind K-pop group. The girls were then sent to Korea to begin their training to debut, but first, Park Jin-young revealed to them their group name for the first time.
There's so many people who got motivated by you guys. So how can we write that word into English? That is VCHA. VCHA. I love the meaning. Shine. Let it shine. Illuminate. Give light.
And then they would already release their pre-debut single the next day after the finale premiered, showcasing the members' talents. YO Universe was actually a really solid debut. It felt like second-gen K-pop. I personally give it a 7 out of 10. I really enjoyed it, honestly. I'm not even playing. Look, they even got my boy Simon Sowell in the music video. He's big time. VCHA then released a performance video of the theme song for A2K, then graced the stage in Korean music shows like Music Core and Music Bank for their first ever public appearance. And around this time, everyone was celebrating the end of 2023 and ready to ring in the new year of 2024. But VCHA was preparing and training to show the K-pop world that they were going to be the girls of the year. Girls of the Year were VCHA's official debut song with the B-side EXO Call Me. And I have to praise VCHA and JYP here because this was probably the best quality debut song of the year. I say that even with groups like Baby Monster, Alit, Cat's Eye, NCT Wish, and TWS debuting this year. If you actually sit down and listen to VCHA's discography, I said it really captures that K-pop soul we fell in love with back in the day. Hot take, but I think VCHA is the only JYP group that carries that JYP vibe in their music. They even have the grammatically incorrect English in it. Yeah, that's we. You know what I'm saying? The production side of it is actually very surprising because JYP used half producers that have worked with K-pop groups before, like IVE, Alit, Let's Head Up Him, and then half producers that have never even touched K-pop before. Girls of the Year is unquestionably an 8 out of 10. Maybe even 9. Maybe. Maybe. With a few songs to VCHA's name, JYP made actually a brilliant idea. But not a lot of K-pop fans were happy about it. JYP announced TWICE would be going on their third world tour, Ready to Be, and they wouldn't perform alone. VCHA would share the same stage as TWICE, as they would be the opening act for them in their stops in Sao Paulo, Brazil, Mexico City, Mexico, and Las Vegas in the States. But sadly, before their last show in Vegas, Kaylee went on hiatus due to health reasons, as stated by JYP. You could assume that it was due to the stressful situations of being on tour, especially being that young, but we kind of know the reason why that had happened. But before we get ahead of the story here, on the last day of the show for VCHA in Vegas, they dropped their first comeback with Only One. VCHA just kept on improving, and I was a fan of what they were able to make. I was impressed. Seriously. Favorite Girl was another song that was released as a B-side with Only One, and the production level was way more than I expected JYP to ever give a group like VCHA. It looks like JYP was gonna give them a chance to be that popular global group. After the insane experience that was opening for the TWICE tour, things would settle down and they would all move in together into a house in LA to continue their training, which was paid for by JYP Entertainment. It makes sense because they were a group made up of Americans to promote in America. However, months passed and VCHA would go silent for a bit. Until July 2024, VCHA's name was included in the list of artists set to perform at Lollapalooza in Chicago in August.
We are so excited to announce that we'll be performing at Lollapalooza in Chicago for the first time ever. Tickets are on sale now. See you soon!
But quickly, JYP announced that VCHA would not be able to appear at this music festival due to unforeseen circumstances. Again, VCHA would go radio silent for the rest of the year with little to no updates on their social media. But then, just last month, JYP suddenly dropped that VCHA would be making a comeback during an interview at Mama 2024. He said, "We are preparing for full activities next year for VCHA. Our plan is to differentiate this group from our existing K-pop artists with a special and unique concept. The training is taking a little longer than usual because the preparation effort is taking longer than expected." Now we know that wasn't happening. A week ago, reports said that VCHA member KG was leaving the group and also filing a lawsuit against JYP Entertainment. KG points out numerous acts of mistreatment and negligence by JYP Entertainment staff and management that led to major harm to the members' health. KG would explain a little bit about the things in her IG story. "I feel it was not a good environment for my mental health, and I apologize if my leave disappoints any of you. I am not in support of working in living conditions that led to a member to attempt unaliving, nor do I support harm. I made this decision back in May, and I'm still waiting for release from my contract. I am worried for the girls who remain in VCHA, my friends, who I truly love and care for. I have accumulated a massive amount of company debt while being paid very little for the intense work and extreme limitations on our personal lives. I'd like to thank JYP company executives and staff for believing in me and the exceptional training. I do not blame anyone for the treatment endured, but feel this is an issue that lies deep embedded in the K-pop industry." Since this is actually a legit lawsuit, the document and introduction of this statement is publicly available. I looked it up, but I gotta point out some of the details that KG didn't dive too deep into that is in the introduction of this lawsuit. KG said there was a JYP dance instructor that was verbally abusive, and in one instance would make KG repeat a dance move hundreds of times to the point she tore a ligament in her shoulder. Additionally, she said the instructor wouldn't let the members drink water and have them skip meals and breaks. Even worse, KG went on to talk about JYP placing hidden cameras in their dorms that they had no idea were there to record their conversations and the meals they had. And under this stress, KG states that one member developed an eating disorder, which they went on to tell the JYP staff about, to which they disregarded it and said that eating disorders are common. And in February 2024, that group member attempted to unalive herself. KG would find that member vomiting in the morning after she took 42 NyQuil pills. JYP staff would go on to hide this incident and refer to it as food poisoning. Now, that is tough to even imagine, and I don't even want to imagine it. And what makes this even tougher is that JYP USA responded to KG's statement and lawsuit by saying, "We deeply regret KG's decision to file a lawsuit and make unilateral public statements containing false and exaggerated claims. But KG was very quick to make a response of her own, and she said, "I am very disappointed in the company's lack of accountability. My legal team and I are fully prepared with photographic and physical evidence to prove my allegations are factual, not exaggerated or false. Thank you for the public for unwavering support. Please treat both sides with kindness, and this is a difficult time for everyone. I will continue to fight better for treatment of K-pop idols and trainees, in which I promise to speak nothing but the truth. I hope by coming forward, other trainees, idols, and group members can be encouraged to use their voice in order to make positive changes in the K-pop industry." How much of a trouble is JYP in if these claims are proven true?
Yeah, I mean, I'm no legal expert or anything like that, but I just, it gives me pause, to say we've never seen, like, for example, an American artist or American trainee or something try to, set a lawsuit for things they experienced in Korea, right? This is specifically in America where there are certain laws, and when it comes to minors especially, and KG, she is a minor still to this day, right? So there's not even a bit of a question of like, when did this happen? Was she a child? Is she not a child? It's quite cut and dry in that way, especially when you consider like, individuals who are still in school, which KG and Kaylee were both in school, and they had actually told me in our Billboard interview kind of how they balance, their work with schoolwork as well, and I was very impressed by how they were able to do that. Now knowing that it was probably very, very difficult and not an easy thing, but they gave me very, kind answers and things like that. These things we know about the K-pop world, which aren't shocking to anyone. We've heard things about K-pop training. We've seen it in different documentaries. Whatever it might be. There are serious allegations. There are important things brought to light and all these things, and we'll have to see how it goes through in court. I'm certainly no legal expert to say, who's what, but, from what I've read of the lawsuit and kind of the way they're communicating is that they want a jury for this trial. They don't want to handle it privately. KG sides at least wants it to be done with the jury and go to trial. So, they're definitely bringing out the spotlight, and I think, trying to just to make a point of some sort, and that's also what it kind of speaks to of her in her statement as well.
And I think this is again about the movement that is happening in the K-pop industry. I've said this before, but some people don't tend to listen. Mistreatment is mistreatment, no matter the degree, and that goes for any group, any individual. VCHA, what New Jeans is going through, what they're trying to achieve. Another story that has been swept under the rug, in my opinion, is Kan from Maiden.
Right. Yes.
Yes. So, and again, I think she was very much silenced from my perspective.
Yeah.
So these instances in the K-pop industry that are happening very close to each other, individuals that most of them do want to make a public thing about it, make it at least a talking point for the masses. Do you think? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. You can go.
No, I was gonna say, do you think this will cause these K-pop companies to change for the better, or, in my opinion, be even more stricter when it comes to their contracts and how they manage the trainees and idols?
I mean,
sorry to put you on the spot.
No. The optimist in me, right, believes that all of this is for the better. Is there's always difficulties to get to a better day. But you make a good point that is it just going to become that much stricter, that much tighter? Is the next American K-pop group just going to have that many more restrictions on them? And I think this is just something like, it's not about fandoms. It's not about like who you like or who you don't like, I think every artist can connect in this in just so many ways, because it's sort of like this system that they're working within and all these things. And if they speak out, they're the next victim. And if this case blows up in a really big way, or New Jeans blows up in a really big way in America, one way or the other, it can kind of, I think affect about where things like this go. We just have to do what we think is right? And I think that's where it comes down to, is that, I just think it's getting so vicious and just so nasty in so many ways, just the way a lot of these things are evolving and devolving in ways. And, I don't know, we just gotta like take a step back, and I like how you put it, right? Like mistreatment is mistreatment, whether or not it's what you would deem as mistreatment, like either way, you're not that person, you don't know their experiences. Like we can certainly all observe and have our own opinions, but when it becomes, harassment on top of the mistreatment that these people say they're experiencing or are alleging, it's just going to make things a lot more difficult for us to get to any kind of, peaceful place or to make progress in that way.
Now, here's the thing. If this is true, and I say that because this is going to court and it has to be proven by law, JYP is in some really, really, I cannot put it into words, serious trouble. Trouble that I don't think any other K-pop company has ever been in, because this will happen in California and the lawsuit was filed in California court, meaning that JYP would be facing the laws of California, which has the strictest child labor laws in the whole nation. And I think, and a lot of people would say this is an open and closed case in favor of KG. But sadly, it isn't as easy as that. It is always tough to prove negligence and mistreatment in court. You need solid, hard evidence in order to do so. JYP, if all of this did happen, may just walk away without any repercussions. The only thing that could be key in this whole lawsuit is those hidden cameras. If the judge can enforce discovery, that means that JYP would have to cough up all their evidence, photos, videos, interviews with staff members, anything relevant to the case. And this could prove that the things KG mentioned did happen. But still, I imagine that this footage is long gone. The cameras were used to monitor the members' conversations and to see what meals they were eating. And I assume that after the day that they checked it, they would delete it because, again, that's a crime to have hidden cameras, so they'd probably have to get rid of that as quickly as they can. And for legalities, for everyone listening, especially JYP, that is all my opinion and not proven true. It will be a long time until we can hear updates from this court case. Let's wrap things up with VCHA. What do you think is the next step for each side in this case? For JYP, for KG, and for VCHA as a group?
With VCHA, I just hope, it's like, I think the honesty and the, many details and things that have been brought up by KG, I don't know if VCHA is going to be able to or even wants to address these things specifically or as directly as she did. I just hope there's like a recognition that like something happened, something real happened to someone, and they experienced it so heavily that they had to take like, extreme actions, and in many different ways. I guess no one wants to admit they've made a mistake, but like, mistakes happen and experiments happen, and things like that. But I think it's just like, no one needs to accept any blame, whatever that might be. The courts will figure things out. Public opinion will figure things out, whatever happens with it. But, we just have to, I hope that every side will just like at least be open to being honest about, where things are going. And I just kind of hope for honesty in just all aspects of the word.
I do want to thank you for your time talking about this. I don't think I've ever had a professional on the channel before.
You have.
If I have, then I apologize to them. But yeah, thank you for your time again.
Thank you. And yeah, thanks guys.
But it seems like JYP want to continue VCHA as a 5-member group without KG and have not disbanded the group yet. They did announce that comeback, but I doubt that's gonna happen now. What's happening to VCHA now is actually having quite an effect on the K-pop industry. Some kids are mature for their age, but too many times we've seen idols struggle to keep up with the demanding K-pop industry. And I really hope this change can happen because yes, it won't really fix the industry, but it is a giant step forward for the better and avoid causing more harm. VCHA was meant to shine, but it seems like JYP didn't even give them a chance to.